Hello there, folks. Brad Walsh here from Empowerography podcast. My guest today is Serene Martinez. She is the owner of Pink Bunny Lingerie based out of San Francisco in the United States. And I just wanted to say hello and thank you for joining me, Serene, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I guess we'll just jump right in here. I mean, we could start talking about all the craziness that's going on, but that would take us completely off track, and we don't want to depress our audience. So let's just hope that
time for something fun and uplifting,
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's just hope everyone's being safe and practicing social distancing and staying home when they absolutely can. So, okay. So could you tell me about one time when you knew you had to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I don't think there was any one specific time. There were so many moments in my career before I became a buyer or before I became an owner to my store. I was a buyer for an adult store. And I just, as nice as they were trying to make it, it was just, I think when you have that consistent feeling of, I could do this better. I could do this better. Really? There's no options that are like X, Y, and Z. Why aren't there options that are like X, Y, and Z? And I feel like if you have those feelings, well, you can either sit there and, still be shocked that nobody offers it, or you could offer it because eventually somebody will, and it could be you or it could be somebody else.
So why not jump in and you be the one to offer it, right?
Yeah. If you have that feeling, I could do this so much better, then please do it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we need it. We need it better.
Exactly. What got you excited about starting your own business?
Being able to do it better. Well, because what the industry I was working in, it's not superfluous to have healthy products. It's a necessity. And unfortunately, when I was a buyer for an adult store, I mean, it seems like, especially, because I've been doing this almost 20 years. Right. And back then it was still pretty risque to work in, work in the adult industry. And now it's like so blasé, you can buy toys at Walmart and CVS. But back then it was still pretty, risque. And there weren't a lot of products that were very marketed toward women and healthy products that were really acceptable and healthy for use. There was the vast majority of products weren't being made in a healthy way and weren't being marketed in a healthy way either. And I really wanted to give women, but people in general, but mostly women, a place where they could feel comfortable and confident. And I just thought, this is not right. We can do this better, and we need to do this better. There needs to be a happy, beautiful way to celebrate ourselves and to not feel weird and feel like we have to go into the back room somewhere to, buy things. To me, intimacy is very akin to eating,
right.
And we need to do certain things for our species to survive. We need shelter. We need, to have healthy survival. We need human contact. Yeah. And we need to, procreate and make babies. And why should we feel, embarrassed about these things? And just like it's like being embarrassed that, you have to eat.
Yeah.
You should do these things in a beautiful, celebrating way.
So does Pink Bunny sells lingerie and adult toys then?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
So
in fact, I started with the lingerie store because you couldn't have, it's very funny because when I was working as a buyer, we couldn't have, I was talking to a rep and I was like, well, I want a list of all your non-toxic toys. And they're like, well, we don't have something like that because nobody cared. The FDA doesn't provide for consumer safety. But they were talking to me and they're like, well, you could never find enough healthy toys to fill a store. And I was like, well, that's totally true. You couldn't. And to be not an adult store, because I didn't want to be labeled an adult store, because that's very limiting.
Negative connotation.
It's a huge negative connotation. Yes. It's very limiting, and it seems already indecent, right? Mm-hmm. So if I have a lingerie store and it's an apparel store, and we mix these things in, it's a very European way to market. So one of the toy products, when they send me their marketing material, it's not in an adult store. It's like their toys are next to sweaters, in the women's boutiques. And that's how I feel like all of this should be. Like you should have all of this available to you, but it shouldn't be pushed, you know, it's got to be this one way. And that's what I love about the way we've designed, or the way I've designed my store, is I really wanted it to be comfortable and a celebration rather than just one, ooh, it's naughty, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's still a very large stigma attached to sexuality, toys, pleasure through sexuality, lingerie. It's horrible. We need to break down those barriers. And I mean, things like this, your store and boudoir photography and all of that mixed in will help. But I just feel like we've got a long way to go still. There's still so many people.
But I also feel like our generation, like it's totally generational, you know, like I'm 41, and if you go at a older generation than myself, you tend to find more stigma to it. But if you talk to younger generations, somebody was telling me the other day their kid had to come out as being straight in their college because it was so diverse. Yeah, I was like, really? Wow, that's so California, right? And I was like, I blew my mind, but I was like, that's, you know, whether that's great or not, I was like, it's fantastic that so many people are having more conversations, you know? And I think that that's great, is that there's less judgment about, you know, who you want to be, and that's not going to be true everywhere. But what I really want to support is I want to support happy, healthy you, whatever that looks like. And I think that's
I mean, it all starts changing with rapidly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you know, there's so many different ways that people are, like when I first started my business, the retail store's been open 10 years ago. And so when I first opened, it was, oh my goodness, you're putting an adult store where? And I'm like, well, it's not really an adult store. But now, like, we've been in Glamour twice. I've been the president of our Union Street Merchant Association, and we have all sorts of awards and accolades.
Awesome.
And we've been in
Congratulations.
Yeah. So it's really exciting, but it's also really, you know, it's only weird until it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Very true. What have you found is one of the most frustrating things about being an entrepreneur?
Well, for me, just because it's very industry specific, is because of my industry, I am not able to get funding through conventional sources. So banks don't want to give me loans. The SBA doesn't want to give me a loan. You know, they don't want to give you.
Because you're a lingerie shop?
No, because I sell adult toys.
Oh, God.
Because if you sell adult toys, there's still that stigma of.
See, there we go.
So when I first opened, I did get funding, but the bank that funded me was the CEO was a woman. And so since then, it has gone through different changes. That's no longer the case. And so since then, it's different. It's challenging. And anybody in my industry can tell you that, you know, traditional banks don't want to fund you. It's just how it is. It's also more, it's more challenging to do everything. It's more challenging to get credit card processors because, I can't even tell you how many times I've had a bank who was my credit card processor just be like, oh, we're not going to process your cards anymore. You're like, wait, what, why? Like, oh, because we got purchased by a different company and this company doesn't support adult stores. I was like, I'm not even an adult store. I sell toys, but it's not that way. So,
yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, I'm the healthy one. I'm the one who makes sure we don't have toxic products. I'm the one who is giving people beautiful opportunities to celebrate themselves and in a healthy way. And, you know, it is what it is, because the things that don't frustrate me that one would think would frustrate you being an entrepreneur, like hearing no and all that stuff. Are you kidding? If I listened to no, I would never be in my industry. I would never be an entrepreneur. You just can't listen to no. It just has to be one more, oh, okay, not you. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's all no means is not you. And
actually, you know,
that's all it means.
I look at it when I hear no too, because me being an entrepreneur as well, when I hear no, I think, and I put into my head that means no, not right now.
Not right now.
I don't think no means flat out no, never. You just no, not at that moment. So you go back at another time and speak with that person again and see what happens. You're going to hear no's. It's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of life in general. You're not always going to have yes. And it's if it was that easy to be an entrepreneur, everybody on earth would be doing it. So you just got to push through. It's a constant roller coaster ride. It's tough.
It is a constant roller coaster ride being an entrepreneur. And I think that the emotional fortitude is way more important than having more money, is way more important than having a business plan, is having the emotional fortitude to say, okay, this is what I'm going to commit to. And it's okay if I feel scared, and it's okay if I feel frustrated, and it's okay if I feel like it's not going to work out, because those are the feelings that just come with that sometimes. Sometimes, when you're starting a new business, you don't know. You going into uncharted territory. Yeah. You don't know how it's going to end, and you just got to go do it anyways.
That's part of the excitement of it all, I think, is the uncharted territory and just not knowing.
Yeah, and I like that. You can label it excitement, and you can label it fear, and you can label it any way you want. The feelings are still there, and you still do it anyways.
Well, having fear is good, though. It keeps you on your toes, it keeps you sharp, and it keeps you motivated, right?
Absolutely.
What are some of the challenges you faced early on in the business being an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome them?
My biggest challenge was not having any idea what I was doing. So, I really like the way that it's broken down of there's stuff there's stuff you don't know. Like, I know when I first opened my business, I knew I didn't know what, how to really read P&Ls and get all the information from them, or before I opened my business, even what a P&L was. I just wasn't raised in that kind of stuff. So there's stuff there's stuff you don't know. But here's the problem: is the stuff you don't know. Yeah. That's the stuff that comes up and surprises you. So I feel like whenever you're starting a business, having a group of business mentors and having a group of personal mentors are really important, and they should not be the same people.
Right.
Because, your emotional support, like your friends and family, they will love you, but they will put you out of business because they will say things like, your ideas are fantastic. That's such a good idea. You should totally be closed on Saturday, right? Like, time off. But you need a business mentor also who has the experience you don't have, and be like, hey, maybe that's not such a great idea. I think we really need that, because when you don't know to be prepared for it. You don't know. Right. Like, I had no idea. I knew that, when you ask for a business loan, maybe you should ask for a little bit more, but until your sales ramp up, blah, blah, blah. We opened our business on a shoestring. If I had known, I would have asked for more money, because I would have asked for more help. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't know. I had no idea that I was going to be working. The first 3 months we were open, I did not take a day off for 3 months. And that was not serving anybody. No. At some point, you need to have that time where you just take care of yourself.
But I think that part of the problem too with entrepreneurs and people that are just getting started as entrepreneurs is they think this is a 9-to-5 thing, and it absolutely is not. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's not 9 to 5, and it's not 5 days a week. You're hustling all the time. You're working all the time. But yes, you're right. You do need to take a break, because you being burnt out is going to do you no good. It's going to do your business no good, your health no good, the people around you no good. Yeah. And I think having a good support system in place is great as well.
Yeah, I think it's vital. I really do believe that if you don't have a mentor for business, you need to get one. If you've never opened or started a business before, even when you do, like, I have business mentors, and I would every business mentor I have, I learn different things from, and I grow in different ways. And I am a business mentor to many other people.
Excellent.
Because, it's easy. It's also really easy, when you're being mentored and you're trying to grow, to forget where you started, and I have women and people message me all the time on Instagram, and they have, all these different business questions for me. And I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. I have helped people do their business, redo their retail floors, redo their Instagrams and their social media. And it feels so good to help someone else. And, when I was starting my business, I was like, that's so nice of, X, Y, and Z to give me a couple hours of their time. They make, billions of dollars, and they're giving me their time, Yeah. Well, now I know why, because it feels really good.
It does. It feels amazing to give back. And if you can do that for someone, I mean, I found in the photography industry as well that photographers are more than willing to help you out when you're first starting out. They'll give you advice. It's great. It's just, you got to filter through and find out what the right advice or mentorship is for you, for your business,
That's
because
very
everybody's
true.
business
Yeah.
is different. So you've got to be able to sift through the noise too, which is not always easy, especially when you're first starting out. It's hard to figure, well, should I listen to this person, or should I listen? Like, it's a tough battle all the way around. There's lots of things to consider and lots of things to do. So it's not easy by any means.
No, I found for more retail, I found really good mentors through the SBDC and from which is the Small Business Development Center.
Right.
I also went through a program, Women's Initiative for Self-Employment, which has been since absorbed by the Renaissance Center, which was, the Renaissance Center was fabulous. Women's Initiative was also fantastic. They put over, I think, like $10 million back into the economy.
Wow.
And, during their stint, their 10-year, 15-year stint in the Bay Area, they helped women, open businesses and maintain their businesses. But one of the key points that was really effective for them and really helpful for me for starting a business was they had another term for it, but I called it aftercare, which is you go there, you learn how to write a business plan, they tell you what you need to know. And then after you graduate, when you go to open your business, they have counselors there for you. You have somebody you can talk to, and you have somebody who you can run things by. And they're like, hey, this is the steps you're going to need to run your business, and your business is X, Y, and Z. And I found that extremely helpful because my business was retail, so there's a little formula to retail. However, my business was not formulaic because of the industry that I was in. So I found myself, I was turned down at least 5 times for retail properties because I wanted to be very candid with the owner about what I was doing. Yeah. But at the same time, as soon as you say the adult word, people freak out. And I don't blame them because there was nothing describing my business. My business the retail store is beautiful. It's in a really nice location in San Francisco on Union Street, which is nice high-end shopping. And when I first told my counselors at Women's Initiative, like, well, this is where I want my business, even they were like, Serene, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you have those goals of wanting to be there, but there are other places where, you can be. And I was like, no, that's part of the business plan. Yeah. Part of the business plan is you have to be in the location that makes people feel comfortable and safe. And you have to be able to curate this space for that client. And that's what I'm really good at. I'm really good at creating the space that celebrates us and makes it really comfortable for the client. Yeah.
Well, you had a vision. And again, I think this takes us back to our earlier point about not listening to the no's and not letting the no's deter you, right? You just got to keep going. You got to push through. Even the well-meaning no's. And the well-meaning no's are the ones that will kill you because those are the ones where you really put stock in their opinion. Yes,
you know absolutely. What I mean? Like if Joe Blow says, oh, you can never put a store there. I'm like, I don't care what he says, right? But the people who are close to me, your family, your friends, those are the ones that, when they're like, oh, I don't think that could work. That can be really hard to let that go. Yeah, sometimes it can be really challenging to maintain your vision where you're like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe I can't afford that. Maybe I can't. And the maybe I can't could be very valid.
Very true.
In this case, I found it to be so integral to the concept, to the business concept, that it couldn't be left out. It's not like I could say, oh, well, I will, instead of carrying 100 products, I'll carry 40 products, and I'll reduce my cost in that way. This was something that could not be skimped on without destroying the business plan.
Right. What did you find that you had to give up to get where you are today? What did you have to sacrifice?
A lot. So, and I
okay, what are a couple things?
I try not to think of it as sacrifice. What I think of it as is a choice. So one of the things
I like that way of putting a spin on it to make it.
Yeah, one of the things that really, really helped me, because I'm a really stubborn person, and for a long time that was not helpful in my life because I was doing things that were not productive, and I was just being stubborn about it, just because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. But what I really had to, give up was the relationships, not my relationships themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
that time with my friends and family that I
Right.
was used to spending and that I really enjoyed. I was a very, very social person, and
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time with friends and family. And, I had a business mentor tell me, you know what, Serene, you know, people give up what they want most in life for what they want at the moment. And sometimes in life, you just have to choose what you want and do that now and put everything else on hold. And that's what I had to do. I was like, my business, if I don't choose to dedicate this time to it, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And then I can sit here and be with my friends 40 years from now and still not have the business that I really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be able to give that up. I also gave up a lot of time with my son. I had my son 2 years into the business, which
Wow.
was not the easiest thing one could ever do. That was kind of crazy, is to be pregnant and have a baby and, and have a new business. It was very crazy. And in the end of my pregnancy, I got into a car accident, wound up being on, I called it house arrest. The doctor called it bed rest, but I called it house arrest. So there's a lot that you give up when you choose to have a business, but there's also a lot that you gain. So instead of thinking about it in win or lose, I think about it as choosing what I want to experience.
Right.
And what I wanted to experience was a successful business. And what do I have to do that? Okay, well, that's just what I have to do. Today, I'm going to be at my store. And tomorrow, I'm going to be at my store. And in 6 months from now and a year from now, if my friends are still there, I'm really grateful. And you know what? The good ones still are. So that's all that matters.
That's exactly it. The good ones will stick around, and they'll see that you're doing something for you, for your family. So, are there any specific tools or books that have helped you on your journey as an entrepreneur that you can think of?
Yeah, so the SBDC was helpful, although, like I said, I found Women's Initiative much more helpful. Because of the nature of what I do and because of my personality, I really love to think about why we do what we do as humans. And I'm really interested in social and emotional growth. And so I do a lot of reading on business books, which I think you should just read business books. If you want to open a business and you've never read a book on business, you don't really want to open a business. You don't. You have a fantasy. I mean, really. Because it's like saying, oh, I want to bake a cake, but I don't even know how to turn on an oven.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think if you want to open a business, start reading books on business, your type of business. If I want to open a photography studio, maybe I should pick up a camera.
Yes.
Maybe I should, read some photography books. Maybe I should follow some photography people on Instagram. But more than that, more than your technical area of expertise for whatever business you want to open, it's really, for me, important to read books on personal development. One of my favorite books is, who's the author? I totally forget his name, but it's the author. The book is called Influence, and it's about why we do what we do. And it's great. It's kind of like human psychology. But then again, a lot of other personal development books out there. There are some that, one of my favorite ones is the E-Myth. I think that is a really important book for people when they're starting a business, because it really gives you a frame of reference for why are you starting a business, and maybe you would set up your business differently if you understood why most people start small businesses. And I love this book. The E-Myth is about most of us who start small businesses are technicians, and we think we can do it better, and so we do. And that's fantastic. But the problem is that does that make us an entrepreneur, or does that make us a technician who has given ourselves a job?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of like me hiring other employees to do what I wanted to do when I opened the store, because I'm the best at doing this. I'm the best at buying toys, and I'm the best at making sure it's the healthiest, and I'm the best at this, and I'm the best at that, and I'm the best at talking to my customers. Well, that doesn't do me any good sitting in a retail store.
No.
Where that has to be utilized and leveraged is in my writing, is in me coaching other businesses, is in any time I can make a video and that goes out to other people and be helpful. All of those things, if I just sit behind the desk in my store, that is not helpful. And what I've done instead of making a business is I've made a job for myself. And that's really an important distinction. And I think most people who start a small business should read the E-Myth because they might think about setting up their business in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. The author of Influence is Robert Cialdini.
Yes, Robert Cialdini. He's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the author. I just thought I'd look it up while you were
telling
us about the other one. So speaking of entrepreneurs, is there any one or two in particular that you admire, and why do you admire him or her?
I admire a lot of entrepreneurs. Like if you want to go mainstream with the people who we love, obviously Tony Robbins. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I love Gary Vaynerchuk because he's just so cranky and he reminds me of my New York people. But, one of the things that really appeals to people about him is he's real, he's really relatable, and that's really important. It's so many people, especially a younger generation, who are trying to be entrepreneurs. And there's a set of people who were not challenged very much growing up, and challenge can be really hard for them to move through, to say that nicely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, when we come up against something where you would call it failure, I don't believe failure is really a thing. I feel like failure is when you give up. That's when failure happens.
Exactly.
It's not about something didn't work out the way you wanted it to. If you sit there and something didn't work out 10 times in a row the way you wanted it to, and you say, oh, it's too hard, then you failed. If you say, you know what, this isn't working the way I wanted it to, this isn't working, let me try something else, and you keep trying, and you choose not to do it because it's not working for some reason, but you choose to do something else, that to me is not failure. But it is failure when you just give up on it,
Absolutely.
And I really feel like moving through challenge, through things that aren't working the way you want, you have to have that skill. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to just own it and be like, yeah, that doesn't work. Keep working at it.
Well, don't they say trying the same thing over and over, trying to do the same thing over and over the same way? Isn't that the definition with the same result? Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Insanity, absolutely. Absolutely, it is. It is. Yeah. And also not being persistent, like wanting a result tomorrow. I know people who have businesses and they're like, well, I don't see any results. I'm like, you've been doing this like a week. What do you want? You have to put in, I don't even want to call it your dues because I don't want people to think that you have to suffer to be successful. That's not what I want people to think at all, because you don't. You can have everything you want in your life and enjoy it. And you can be wealthy and you can have the time and money to enjoy your life. But you do have to set up your system, and you have to be willing to set up whatever system that is and go through that process.
Yeah.
And if
you have to work at it.
You have to work at it. Like we have probably, 15, 20 awards and articles and all over that. We've been in business 10 years, but they don't, it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And anyone who thinks it does is sadly mistaken.
Yeah. But that's also, if they think it does, it's going to affect how much drive you're willing to put into this. Yeah. You have to live what you do, not because, it brings you joy. I'm on that. It should bring you joy, but because you're going to be doing it a while. And when you love what you do, it gives you the resilience to move through the bad times.
For sure.
It's like, I would not be a great accountant, spreadsheets, not my thing. My sister-in-law says things like, oh my God, I love spreadsheets. I'm like, oh my God, I love you. But thank God there are people like that, right? Because for me, I would not have the stamina to move through that.
Right.
Like if I were an accountant, I would just quit at tax time, and then I would just quit. Right.
Yeah.
But I love what I do, and I found a deeper purpose for why I'm doing it. I don't set up a lingerie store and intimacy retailer because I want to sell pretty things. Mm-hmm. I want to do it because I deeply believe that every human being has the right and should be celebrating themselves. And that's just my manifestation of doing that. If I were more scholastic, I might have been a therapist, but that's like way too much paperwork for me. So lingerie place, more my thing.
I love that though. There's the deeper meaning behind it. So that's good. And that's what drives you and your business to succeed. So on that note, how would you define success? What does the word success mean to you?
I think for me, it just means that I'm enjoying my life. I think I'm very successful because I get to enjoy my life. If I think of my life as that, maybe it's a dream, maybe, just talking about, bigger, broader consciousness, what would I choose in this life? What would I choose? I would choose to be helpful to others. I get to do that. I would choose to have a beautiful family. I get to have that. I would choose to live in a beautiful place. I get to have that. What more could anybody want? I have all of my needs are met, and not just met, but overflowing. That is successful to me.
That's a great definition. Let's take things in a little bit of a lighter direction, not so serious in business. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Flying, for sure.
Flying. Why flying?
Oh, I love the freedom of that.
Okay. What is your favorite word?
Challenge. But my 6-year-old son would say that it's no.
Well, yeah,
he's actually written books like mommy says no. Mommy's favorite word is no. But I love the word challenge. I used to say can't all the time, and it really limited my thinking. And now I say challenge, and totally changes your life. Your verbiage changes your life. That's
a nice spin to put on it. I'll have to take note of that for myself, actually. I like that. What is the best advice you've ever received? Whether it be personal or business, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's the same. It's all the same. It's, Serene, you can be right or you can get what you want. Because I was an a-hole when I was growing up. I mean, I was the biggest asshole I've ever met. Wow. But I was angry. And I grew up in a place that it was challenging, and so I was just so, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do. I'm fending for myself. You can't tell me what to do. That when, something good would come along, I was just so dead set against it just because I had to be right. And I couldn't let go of things, and I couldn't say I was wrong, and I couldn't say, this isn't working, and I couldn't say I failed, or I couldn't bring myself to have a broader view. And so when somebody told me that, I was like, fuck, I don't want to hang on to that stuff. Like, I really want to get what I want in life. And I think that was one of the other things that somebody had given me the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And at that stage in my life, I was like, I know how to do that. It's with a bottle of alcohol. Because, I was like 19, and they're like, you need to read this. And I was like, And it took me a while before I actually read it, and it changed my life. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. And I think it should be required reading in every high school. I do. Because it really talks about how to be a nice person and how to, we don't teach any sort of communication in school, and that was not effective. I would say the meanest things to people, and I was just angry. So for me, learning to just be quiet and learn how to get what I want rather than being, right was helpful.
Well, I've heard the saying, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Oh, that's a good one too. I love that. That also applied to me. The other advice you could have said for me was, shut up. I needed to learn how to edit. That's what I really needed.
So can you share a specific situation that's occurred in your life that you feel provides insight to who you are? Or who you
I was thinking about that, and I think the perfect analogy of where I was when I was younger to where I was when I started feeling like I wanted to be a proactive person in my life is the Women's Initiative, a place that I was so wanting to get into, which was a Women's Initiative for Self-Employment, and that was an organization which helped low-income women learn to write a business plan. Well, when I signed up, they said, well, the next class is, 12 weeks out. You have to wait for it. And I said, great, whatever. I signed up and I waited for this class. And I was still working a lot at an adult store and still trying to, still learn a lot. And but this time I was a buyer and I was all that stuff. So I went to this class. I finally got in the class and I walked in the class and the teacher said, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" Oh, she said, "Shit, I don't speak Spanish." But because my last name is Martinez, they assumed because of just the nature of where I was, they assumed that I was going to be in the Spanish-speaking class. So when I told them, I don't speak Spanish, it's not going to. They're like, "Well, you have to wait another 12 weeks to get the next class."
Wow.
Ugh. So I was really disappointed because this is a class I really wanted. And I went out in the parking lot and I sat in my car and I was feeling really dejected. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I can sit and wait 12 weeks or I can do something about this right now. And if I wait till 12 weeks, who knows what's going to happen in 12 weeks? I might lose my motivation. I might do this. I might do that. This is a moment for you, Serene, where you have to choose. Like just sit around and wait or be proactive. So I was in my car and I called a couple other places that I had, researched and I got a business class with the SBDC and I got a business writing class with them and it started the next week and I borrowed money and I went and I learned a lot in that class. And by the time I got back to the women's initiative class 12 weeks later, I felt like I had a much better grasp than I would have had the first time.
Right.
And when I graduated that class, that organization has its own private funding for high at-risk clients, but my business plan was so good, they just gave me to a real bank. And one of the people that I know, she has great degrees from like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Berkeley. She's ridiculous. She has all these kind of good degrees. She's amazing. And she's like, yeah, that business plan's better than most of the people I went to Harvard with. But it was because I had done that commitment of, I could have just sat around and be like, but there, sometimes you just have to make a choice and you need to take action and the universe loves taking action. And I really believe if I had sat around and waited 12 weeks, my attention span wasn't fantastic at that time. So my life could have been very different. And I really wanted to choose to take action. So for me, choosing to be proactive is really important in my life.
Good for you. That's awesome. There are a lot of lingerie shops out there these days. So what differs Pink Bunny from the others that are out there?
We are so when we opened 10 years ago, one of my reps came in and he looked around. He's like, there's only like 3 of these in the world. And he was right at that time. And the reason is because we sold intimate accessories that were only phthalate-free, high quality, and that was very rare at that time. Phthalates are chemicals we don't want. And then we also sold lingerie that was not $300 bras, we're not, there's like a huge range of price points in the lingerie world. You get like the stuff you get at the mall, which is pretty day-to-day pricing or, more bargain pricing. Right. And then you have the really beautiful, elegant, very high-end stores. And we have a ton of beautiful lingerie stores in San Francisco. And I send clients to them all the time when they're looking for something that we don't have. Right. And, but what we do is I like to think of it as more comfortable pricing. So many of our garments are like just $60, $70, but you still have a luxury feel. Yeah. And my favorite compliment is when customers come in our store and they're like, oh my God, I didn't think I could afford anything in here. Because it's really important for me to deliver that luxury experience
for sure
for everybody. Yep. And you don't have to be spending that kind of money. But that was also part of my business model and that emotional part of me opening the store is we all deserve to have that feeling.
We all deserve to feel beautiful.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I love it.
And highly trained people. Like it's really important, especially in that industry of intimate accessories. Yeah. It's really important to have knowledgeable, helpful, comfortable people. For
sure. Who are your personal heroes, 1 or 2 of them, and why do you hold them in such high regard?
My mom. Mostly my heroes are the people that I know. Aside from heroes, out in the world like Gandhi, which I mean, I think most of us have really amazing respect for, the mainstream heroes that we have. But for me, like personally, it's my mom and the women and people in my family who did a lot with very little. And that even though I may have grown up in a place that was chaotic and not necessarily the healthiest, it was people did the best they could with what they had, and I really respect that.
Life's lessons, right? They taught you.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, and I think about it, like if I come into this life and everything was handed to me on a silver platter and I wanted for nothing, what would I have to grow with? I wouldn't choose that. I wouldn't choose that. I would choose, and I wouldn't choose to have it easy when I was younger and then have it hard when I'm older. I would think I would have chose it just the way you have it, just the way I had it. It's challenging, and then you learn life lessons, and then you get to be grateful for what you have.
Exactly. What does the word empowerment mean to you, seeing as you work in an industry that deals predominantly with women? What does the word empowerment mean to you?
The word empowerment to me means feeling your own confidence and feeling grateful for that. I feel like there's a lot of gratitude in empowerment, at least for me. I feel really empowered when I feel grateful for what I had and when I give back. When I give back, I feel amazing. And I know why people donate their time to help people, anybody else, for whatever it is, whether it's in business mentoring or it's, when you're handing food to, people who need it. It's just that feeling feels really strong and it feels wonderful.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, whether it be about life or business or anything else, what would that piece of advice be?
I would have probably given myself that How to Win Friends and Influence People book a lot earlier. I did. That was, how we all have, I assume we all have those kind of aha moments or just random things that you hear that really resonate with you for whatever space you're in. Those are, for me, the ones that really resonated. Serene, you can get what you want, or you can be right, or you can get what you want. That just for my own personality, that was one of the big ones for me. And learning to just shut up and listen and learn and be grateful. Again,
that goes back to that 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Exactly.
I love that saying.
Yeah, I love that too. I needed that when I was younger, but I also feel like I needed the How to Win Friends and Influence People book, because it talks about, this is not about you. This is not about you, being right or wrong. It's about how you are affecting other people around you.
Right.
With gratitude.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was affecting other people.
Well, on that note, I think we'll end the interview. I just wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of Empowerography Podcast for being my guest today, Serene. Once again, my guest was Serene Martinez, owner of Pink Bunny Lingerie Shop in San Francisco, US of A. So thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful chatting with you. And hopefully maybe at one point we can have you back on again.
That would be fantastic. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. And I love that you are putting these stories out for everybody. And hopefully it will help lots of people.